Am I the asshole? For ruining a baby name. I am Brazilian, but I've been living in the US for 3 years. My first language is Portuguese. I have a 4-year son, and I'm pregnant with a girl due in May. My son is friends with a girl whose mother, I'll call her Becca, is also pregnant. She's due a couple weeks before me, and is also expecting a third girl. Since we take our kids on playdates almost weekly, we frequently talk about our pregnancies. Becca is into unique names. Not uniques or tragedies, but names that she and her husband create. It's not my style, but she managed to come up with genuinely nice names, both her older daughters, so there was never really a reason for me to say anything. This time, Becca and her husband had a lot of trouble coming up with a new name. She first brought this up last December. For months, they tried to create something that sounded good, with no success. We took our kids on a playdate at a park this weekend. When we sat down for a snack, Becca excitedly told me they'd finally settled on a name. I was really happy for her, and asked what they'd chosen. Narina. To those who don't know, that's Portuguese for nostril. I managed to control myself, and told her it sounded lovely. But my son let out a giggle. My husband and I are raising him bilingual, so he speaks Portuguese, and Becca wanted to know why. I tried to brush it off, but she kept insisting. Eventually, I told her that while Narina could be a lovely name, it was also the Portuguese word for nostril. Becca seemed really sad to hear that. She said she'd think of something else, but had fallen in love with Narina. After we went home, Becca's husband called me. He was furious at me for ruining the only name they had agreed on. Apparently, he had a fight with Becca because she told him she wanted to think of something else. He argued they'd never visit Brazil anyway, so they shouldn't have to change the name, but Becca refused to use Narina. My husband agrees that their fight is not my fault, but thinks I didn't need to tell Becca anything, since Americans are unlikely to know what Narina means. Am I the asshole? X200B. Edit: this was not my son's fault. He is 4 years old and had an honest reaction to hearing a baby would essentially be named Nostril. I get that some people might think I was the but don't blame my child for this. Edit: 2 okay, a lot of people are misreading Narina as Narnia. No real comment on that, but the Chronicles of Nostril has a nice ring to it. Not the asshole. I'm shocked they didn't bother googling their name ideas as they came up with them. I see Narina as nostril on the first page of search results. Not the asshole. It's not ruined. They're not even Portuguese. And FFS, they could always change the spelling if their panties are this twisted. Narina, Narina, Narina. Do not tell me what awful things those mean. I googled it. Narina is a type of bird. And it means fresh, pomegranate flower as a Persian name. Not the asshole, but they way overreacted. Many names and words mean something different in another language. At least the word is innocuous. The name Bill sounds like Bill in Dutch, which means buttocks. Correction, buttock. Do you think people are going to stop using Bill as a name? William has to be one of the most common names in existence. Todd is the German word for th. She needs to chill and just use the name she likes. Not the asshole. You want to know what I think? I think that her jerk of a husband would have called you livid, that you didn't warn them when they inevitably meet someone who knows Portuguese and knows what that kid's name means. He's rude. Not the asshole. You weren't really given any other choice other than to explain your son's reaction. Even if you had managed to brush it off, there is a high chance your son might have spilled the beans at a later time, like after her child is born. Young kids rarely know when to filter things, and that goes double if they are a chatty child. Knowing the name has an unflattering translation in another language obviously bothers your friend. If she had found out anyway after naming her child, she might have been upset with you for not saying. This is one of those damned if you do and damned if you don't situations for you. But definitely not the asshole for their argument. All you did was give her the truth, it's up to them how they use that information. It's not your fault they are disagreeing, that's on them. Friend's husband is TA for confronting you. Home? Apparently Narina is a type of Indian butterfly, and also an African bird. Also a female name of Persian origin that means pomegranate flower. Maybe share those Google results with her. Not the asshole. What did he want you to not tell her? Linda is a very common name in western counties. Linda also means massive turd in certain Indian dialects. Not just massive turd, but one you have to strain to do. So not the asshole words mean different things in different languages, and it's a them problem if they didn't know about this. Just about any name you can think of can be connected to something else. John is a common English name, but it can be used to refer to a toilet. At a certain point, you just have to let go and not worry about what it could mean in some other language or some other circumstance. I don't think you're in awe for just informing her of a language translation. She's not in awe for being worried about her kid being laughed at. Her husband is a bit of an awe for blaming you for his argument with his wife. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. If it's going to be an issue for them, better to know now than when Narina is in kindergarten or first grade and comes home crying after doing one of those "what does your name mean?" projects and other kids made fun of her. Also, like another commenter said, they can always change the spelling. Not the asshole. You did a good job covering your reaction, but you cannot blame a 4-year-old for laughing when he's told someone is going to be named Nostril. You had to explain it because she was pressing the issue, and it is a pretty mundane word and answer. If it soured her on the name, that's on her. Not the asshole. You responded in a diplomatic way by initially not telling her. Your son had an age-appropriate response and giggled. Becca knew something was up, so you told her. It was an adult conversation. You didn't mock her choice. It is up to Becca and her husband if they want to pursue the name or not. Not the asshole her husband is. That is completely unacceptable behavior from him. Reminds me of a situation that occurred when I was a child. The neighbor decided to name her little girl Rana. I told her that it was the Spanish word for frog. She was not amused. But she did name her Rana anyway. There's a lot of Latinos in the US, and Narina means the same thing in Spanish. She'd find out eventually once her daughter gets in school. Not the asshole.